Hey everybody, it's Final Rich here with my movie critic hairdo. I'm going to do the 2025 soundtrack movie tag that was started by that movie channel. No, that vinyl channel, that movie channel. It's that vinyl guy with that vinyl channel. I have notes just so I can make sure I get this right. Though by looking at the records, some of them I'll be able to guess. But anyways, the first, a favorite soundtrack that you bought in 2024. Well, I don't buy soundtracks. At least I thought, but I do have a bunch here. I didn't buy any in 2024. A soundtrack you own more than one copy of. Well, there isn't any. But I used to have two of this. The Return of the Living Dead. This is an original back from the 80s, I suppose. 84. I bought a reissue a few years back. It was a glow-in-the-dark version, and quite frankly, this one sounded better, so I got rid of the other one. I'm not one that generally needs two copies of an album. Pick a favorite genre. Show a soundtrack from that genre. And a favorite genre of mine is 60s exploito hippie movies. And my favorite is Psych Out. This is a really good album. The album is better than the movie, but I enjoy those kind of movies, man. It's got the Seeds on it, Strawberry Alarm Clock. What's this one band? Bonnie's Circuit? I don't know. The Storybook. Anyways, great soundtrack. Soundtrack known for using classical and orchestral pieces. Well, that's got to be 2001: A Space Odyssey. This was a great soundtrack, and it fit perfectly with the visuals of the movie. Just very well done by Stanley Kubrick, even if the ending doesn't make any sense. The oldest soundtrack in your collection. Well, I have three from 1967. We got Volume 2, The Wild Angels, and this features Dave Allen and the Arrows. And this is in The Shrink. You got another one, Devil's Angels. And again, it features Dave Allen and the Arrows. Yeah. And a third one, which is probably my favorite of the three, it's Riot on Sunset Strip. This has Standells, the Mugwumps, the Chocolate Watch Band. I think the Chocolate Watch Band songs are live. The Standells might be, I don't know. But yeah, it's really good. A favorite soundtrack album art. And I'm going with Yellow Submarine by the Beatles. It might not be the greatest album art in the world, but I really like the Peter Max artwork. I think it's fantastic. A bargain bin find. A soundtrack you got on the cheap. Well, that's Barry Lyndon. I got this probably for $1, maybe $1, less than $2. Promotional copy. But back then, promotional copies didn't mean a thing. In fact, promotional copies back then were cheaper than the regular. It's funny how things change. But this has like classical, I think Mozart. But it also has the chieftains and like Irish, traditional Irish music, I guess it is. Soundtrack from a live music documentary. And this is my favorite of that category. It would be The Decline of Western Civilization. I played this maybe 6 months ago for the first time in a number of years, and I was blown away at how much I liked it. I had always liked it. I mean, the Black Flag songs, the Germ, the X songs, and the Fear songs, I always thought were great. But actually, the Alice Bag song and the Kathleen Discipline and the Circle Jerk songs were a lot better than I remembered them. Just a great soundtrack. A soundtrack from a movie that was never made. Well, we'll go with Uncle Meat, the Mothers, Frank Zappa on Bizarre Labels. Pretty good album, man. It's got some really good highlights. Put it that way. I enjoy this. Okay. A soundtrack or an album, one side is the soundtrack and the other side is the score. And I'm going to go with Suburbia. In this album, or in this movie, there are 3 bands pictured live. They perform live in the actual movie, and it's the live side has DI, TSOL, and the Vandals. And then the second side is the score by Alex Gibson. Alex Chilton. Very good, man. The score, generally, I'm not real big on scores, but these really good, really good. Soundtrack from a TV show or special. I'm going to go with Elvis, the original soundtrack recordings from his NBC TV special. Fantastic. Now, I also could have named this question or prompt as an album that got damaged in a night of mushrooms, beer, and marijuana. Yeah, this got torn up in a party evening. Okay. A soundtrack that is better than the movie, but the album cover is better than the soundtrack. It's got to be Zabriskie Point. This movie's a turd. The soundtrack is very good, but I think the album cover is fantastic. Really good. I like this album cover. It has the Pink Floyd. It has the Kaleidoscope, the LA Kaleidoscope, which I think is a great band. You got Grateful Dead. You got Tennessee Waltz on here, which it just sticks out like a sore thumb. But yeah, it's a very good soundtrack. A soundtrack album cover where someone thinks they have good reason to smile, but maybe they really don't. And I'm going to go, here we go round the mulberry bush. You know, this guy, everybody's smiling. This guy's got the biggest smile on his face because he's surrounded by these 6, this bloke has these 6, what do they call them over there? Not chicks, but whatever. I don't know if he should be that happy about the situation. I've found in life that one woman is more than enough to deal with. 6 soundtrack from a serious political movie. We're going to go with Wild in the Streets. This movie features Shelley Winters, Richard Pryor, and it's one of those exploital movies. And I think the premise is if you're over 14, you can't vote anymore, or something like that. Very serious stuff. A soundtrack from a movie about a serial killer. I'm going with Cruisin'. I think this is a great movie. I think it's a great soundtrack. Starring Al Pacino. I don't think this movie did good at the theaters. I don't think the critics liked it. It might have been a little ahead of its time. It's dealing with a serial killer that's targeting gay men in New York City. And I guess it's on in the Village. And it has some pretty wild scenes in there, man. The bar scenes are pretty. It kind of blew me away, but I dig the movie. Great soundtrack, man, with Willie DeVille. You got the Cripples, John Hyatt, You got the Germs, among others. The Cripples, did I say? Okay. A soundtrack from a movie that deals with punks, aliens, and Repo Man. Well, it's Repo Man. One of the greatest movies of all time. Well, it's a good movie. And it has some pretty funny twists, and it's an off-center movie, which is what I generally like. Okay. A soundtrack with a motorcycle on the cover. We got Easy Rider. Oh, wait, there's no motorcycle. Oh, wait, here we go. On the back. Pretty good movie. I mean, I think it's overrated, but the soundtrack's excellent. Okay. A soundtrack where somebody's picking their nose on the cover. Gonna go with Revolution. Picking their nose. This is a pretty good soundtrack, man. Quicksilver, Messenger Service, Steve Miller Band, and Mother Earth. Okay. A complete original score recordings with a gun, Beethoven, an eyeball, a ballet dancer, clock movement diagrams, and milk on the cover. And we're going to go with Walter Carlos, Clockwork Orange. It's not the official soundtrack from the movie, but this is Walter Carlos's complete recordings. Soundtrack from a crappy movie shot on videotape that made the movie look crappier than the actual movie. And we're going with 200 Motels. I guess this was shot on videotape, transferred to 35 millimeter, and then when they showed it at the theaters and it blew up, it was like a grainy mess. It was terrible. But the movie's pretty terrible. And finally, an album that takes its name from a movie. And we're going to go with Fiends of Dope Island. The Cramps. Taken from an early 60s horror movie, I believe. Anyways, take care, everybody. I'll leave a link to that vinyl guy or whatever his name is. Take care, everybody. Man, the dogs